With us now from Pennsylvania is Republican Congressman Scott Perry, one of the lawmakers that Johnson and Trump are sweating on this question. Congressman, welcome. I see the shutdown has already affected your backdrop. It's dark where you are. But you said last week after a visit to the White House that you wanted to get to yes, but you needed to see the bill. Now you've seen the bill. How are you going to vote?
Well, look, we have three options here. We can let Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, and Hakeem Jeffries determine what happens inside the bill. We can either have that, we can either do that or have a shutdown or pass this and let President Trump, Elon Musk, and his budget chairman handle the spending that we don't like. I'm not a fan of CRs. It's not the way we should do business. But here's where we are. I didn't create this. President Trump didn't create this. But context is important. And what we haven't had before is President Trump, Doge, and somebody at OMB that would rake out the unnecessary, unaffordable spending in a continuing resolution. And that context makes everything different.
So you find the speaker's argument persuasive that kick the can for the rest of this fiscal year and then try to recoup the Doge cuts and other cuts that can be made this year, and that those will go into more cuts for the next budget. Is that basically the idea?
Yeah, I hate to say kick the can, but you're not necessarily wrong. This has generally been the surrender now to fight later moniker that we always get. Again, context is important. We usually don't have Donald Trump in the White House. We don't have Russ Vought over at OMB, and we don't have Elon Musk. You know, talk is cheap. It'd be one thing if these guys have been saying we're going to do something for the last year and not do anything, but they have been doing things right now in real time. And so I think that's the context that we have to live in. That's where conservatives have to understand this is a different world now. And the real fight isn't on this continuing resolution. The real fight is on the reconciliation that's coming up. And let's remember, even with a CR that I don't love, it actually freezes spendings at current level. And that's something that everybody in Washington talks about, but nobody does. So this actually is freezing spending at current levels.
Okay, so let's talk about reconciliation. Yeah. That's the vehicle that, for normal people, they should know, moves the president's agenda through Congress, and they can do it with fewer votes in the Senate. And so this is for sort of all the marbles. It appears likely that to reach the kind of spending cuts you're talking about, Republicans are going to have to necessitate cuts to Medicaid. Whether the states end up having to do it or how it works, but that's what the money looks like. You and other Republicans have argued that you're only going after waste, fraud, and abuse in Medicaid. We hear that a lot. But according to the Office of Management and Budget, only about 4% of federal payments are improper. And in Medicaid, that would add up to just a little bit more than $31 billion, which unfortunately, as you know, in Washington, that's not much. You all are looking to cut a lot more than that over the next 10 years. Can you really promise that no one is going to lose their health coverage as a result of this?
I think what we can promise is that no one that is legitimately on Medicaid will lose their coverage. And I think that's important. You're talking about improper payments, but you didn't include people that are here illegally. If you're here illegally, you should not be on any federal assistance program. That's not what they're designed for. They're designed for Americans that are struggling, that are below the poverty line, or that are infirm, that can't work and afford healthcare. That's what that program is designed for, not for millions of people that came flooding across the border and want to just live in America and have everybody else pick up the tab.
But the other big chunk, yes, Medicaid originally was for those people, for the infirm, for the very poor. But after 2010, it was expanded to include a lot of working class families, a lot of families in Pennsylvania. What about what we call the Obamacare expansion? What about those folks? Is that sacrosanct?
I think that we have to look at every bit of fraud, waste, and abuse. And the states have been gaming the system. While you're mentioning the expansion, what you're not mentioning is something like the provider tax that states then charge the federal government for and use for other things that have nothing to do with Medicaid. So there's a lot of different things here. The Democrats are sounding the alarm bell and doing this fear mongering because they know that it affects people and how they view things, but they're not talking about the facts like the improper payments, like the illegals, like the provider taxes, where states actually game the system. There's money to be found here, Chris, and we're going to find every single bit of it.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider, and don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.